What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down why tomorrow is going to be a crazy, crazy day as we have Jerome Powell giving a speech. We have the FOMC meeting and new interest rate hike projections coming out. I'm going to break down how all this could affect the market moving forward. But before I break into all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very, very soon. Anyways, when it comes to NIO is down 6.32% for the day, getting a bit of a sell-off. Things are not looking that great for it. Now, in my previous videos, I said we have a head and shoulders like structure developing on NIO and expect some downside. I said we're going to likely see some downside, and that's what played out so far. The question is, what's going to happen for tomorrow? How is all the data going to affect NIO? I'll be breaking all of this down over the next couple of minutes. So let's talk about some data. So for today, we had very minor data coming out. The market did try to rebound a bit as NIO is showing some weakness. But for tomorrow, it's going to be Wednesday, March 20th. We have some very important data coming out. So in the beginning of the day, there's not really much coming out. It's going to be very quiet. The market's going to get ready for some very, very high volatility and crazy moves that are coming. But then by the time we get to 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's New York time, we have the Fed interest rate hike decision coming out. That's not really that important because we know that there's a 99% chance the Fed's going to keep rates the same. It's almost a guarantee at this point. So we're not really expecting them to do anything like that. What is more important is going to be this right here. The most important thing, in my opinion, is going to be the FOMC economic projections because it's going to help us see what the Fed is anticipating for the next year, for the next 2 years when it comes to rate hikes. Are they going to continue to cut more? Are they going to cut less? We'll just have to find out. And that's going to be very important. What is the Fed basically anticipating, considering the fact that the last CPI report that came out was a little bit hotter than expected? Same thing with PPI. And this happened 2 times in a row. So with inflation starting to show some signs of going up again, will the Fed have to continue to maintain rates higher for longer, or will the Fed make any changes? Now, after all of that, right here, after all these stuff come out, I just want to mention that at 2:30 p.m. we also have Jerome Powell giving a speech. So from 2 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. we have Jerome Powell at the press conference, and we have all this importance data coming out. Once again, the press conference starts at 2:30, and then 2 p.m. is when we have all the data. This is going to be huge for the markets. I'm expecting a crazy big move, and we'll see what that causes. As of right now, this is what the dot plot looks like. So basically, this is where rates basically were, very close to where we are now. For the end of 2024, this is the projection for the year end. Are we going to see rates come down to 3.5%, or are they going to maintain a higher position? Right now, we're expecting it to be around 3.5%, but the Fed could adjust this for the end of the year. And for a longer term, that's like 2025 and beyond, are we going to see things come all the way down to these lower levels into the 2.5% area, or is it going to be even higher than that? If the Fed raises these, this means they have to be hawkish for longer, and that would be bearish for the markets. Just get ready. I'm not going to make any claims yet. We have to wait and see what the data suggests. That's going to be very, very important. As far as NIO goes, NIO is basically talking about the ET7, which is going to be a big competitor in Germany, which is good news for them. However, there's also news coming out that NIO is going to maintain its R&D investments, and they're going to continue to work on their sub-brands and improve other sections of their vehicles. So right now, they're trying to improve battery swapping technology. They're working with some sub-brands, and other things have been happening. We're also going to be looking to see what else happens with big improvements in terms of battery swap services. So they're actually working on improving that and simultaneously improving the capacities of their battery swaps and their power packs. So that's very important because when you look here, they've also partnered with another major company in China, that's CATL. I could be pronouncing it wrong, but I'm just going to go with that for now. And basically, they signed an agreement with CATL, which is a Chinese-based battery manufacturer for the development of longer-lasting EVs. Their batteries, which would have a warranty of up to like 15 years, which is pretty insane. That is twice the current national warranty standard, and they're currently using this for other EV packs. That's some very, very good news for them. They're trying to actually improve from that end, and this could help them improve other sectors as well, such as having longer range and things like that. So that's good news for them trying to develop those batteries. On top of this, we had the Chinese registrations come out. This is part of why NIO kind of dropped. So we saw Tesla's registrations fall a little bit. NIO's were only at about 2,200. Remember, NIO has to have a very, very strong March for their sales to go up substantially and for them to see a big amount of growth. As of right now, they're only doing like 2,200 a week, which is not really enough. We're expecting them to do very, very high numbers for the last week of March. We only have about like 12 days left of March, so we have to hope that NIO really improves and pushes for those final 1.5 weeks. They have to do much better. They have to get those deliveries up because with the current numbers they're getting, they're a little bit lackluster relative to what NIO's goals have been. We're expecting a very strong March for them to meet their goals and to meet guidance. So that's going to be key for NIO. If they fail here, not going to be the best of signs, so we're hoping we see improvement. Right now, only getting this, there was only a slight improvement compared to the previous week, and they weren't really that great because remember, they're telling us they're going to have about 31 to 33,000 vehicles basically delivered for March, for the quarter, excuse me. So for March, they have to do at least 12,000. As of right now, we're actually not on track to meeting that at the current rate. We have to see a big surge in deliveries for the last 1.5 weeks of March for us to reach this 12,800 to 14,800 goal. We have to see if NIO could achieve that, so just be very, very careful. With that being said, USB gave NIO a neutral rating. We're also seeing the price price ratio dropping right over here as NIO is gaining, it's actually losing some strength. And then on top of all of this, I just want to mention that Wednesdays have historically a percentage of green about 55% of the time. And there's not much else from the data right now. There's been a lot of talk about the declining deliveries in China, which is part of why NIO sold off the way it did, and because their numbers were not the best. With volume being 77 million, that is actually above average. We're dropping on high volume, but things are just not that great. As far as the future goals, I just want to mention that as far as NIO goes, we have this head and shoulders like structure, and there could be a bit more downside right here if we do continue falling. But that's not going to be everything. What's going to matter more is going to be the FOMC meeting. So we'll see what Jerome Powell and the Fed end up announcing. That's going to determine which way we end up going. So if tomorrow goes by, right, we might see NIO kind of rebound a bit, retest 5.3. Then Jerome Powell is going to be giving a speech alongside the data release. If we're bullish after all of that, NIO could pump to at least 5.69. If we're bearish, NIO could fall all the way down to 5 flat. So be very, very careful, guys. NIO is not looking the best. For SPY, this thing's trying to push right now. It might push tomorrow into open, might try to push a little higher, but then after Jerome Powell comes out and the Federal Reserve announces what they have to announce, could we go into the 520s? If we are bullish, yes, it's possible. Or if we're bearish, if Jerome Powell causes the rug pull, we could be falling all the way back down to 510 or below that. So my point is, there is a risk of us coming down because the Fed is incentivized to be more hawkish because of hot inflation. So the odds do favor us either like popping and dropping or eventually dropping. But just to be safe, nothing is promised here. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes. On Tesla, there's a possible cup and handle like structure. If we're bullish, you want to see it break 175 and start pushing for 180 plus after FOMC. If we're bearish, you want to see Tesla basically fall and fill its gap all the way down to 165 or below that. I'm in the middle, but I just want to warn you all that there is a risk of some downside because of the fact that the Fed is incentivized to be a bit more hawkish. But just to be safe, we'll wait and see how it goes. But just excuse me, just be a little bit careful. Excuse me, guys. I apologize for that. For Apple, if we're bullish, you want to see this thing actually push up towards 180. If we're bearish, you want to see it fall to 174, then eventually 172 and below that. There is a risk of this falling, so we have to be very, very mindful of that. For the QQQ, if we're bullish, we want to see this thing basically break out above 440 and start pushing all the way up to 443. If we're bearish, we want to see this thing basically drop all the way down towards 432. So, in my opinion, it all depends on Powell again. So, we'll see how things go. And we want to be very, very mindful of that. Nvidia pumping will take this thing all the way up to 920. If we're bearish, we're going to fall all the way back down towards 862. I think that there's a risk of us coming down, though, because of what Powell could end up saying. He is incentivized to be more hawkish. So, we'll wait and see. But that is pretty much it for the main five I typically go over. In my opinion, the VIX is going to get a big surge in volatility. It is looking a little bearish right now because SPY might push up, but this could be a trap because there were days where it came down really hard only to see a big reaction to the upside. So we'll see what happens. Will Jerome Powell cause a big surge in the VIX? It's a real possibility. So be careful. We're approaching some key supports, so we'll see if we get a bounce or not. So just be careful with that. With that being said, guys, for the markets, we're expecting a big reaction after Jerome Powell gives his press conference speech. Also, after all the data comes out, so we'll see how it goes. Get ready for a big move for tomorrow. The odds do favor downside, however, considering what the way the Fed has been, talking lately, especially because of the inflationary data. So just be careful. We'll see how things go. And with that being said, I thank you all for listening. Have a great day, guys. Remain calm, cool, and collected, and peace out.